As a society, we're just not very good at talking about death, and I wanted to help other people, children, not go through what I went through, to know that you can talk about it and you can ask questions and you can cry and you can be happy and you can be sad and you can go through all of those different emotions. It's got everything in there for if somebody that you love dies.
Welcome to the podcast, Death, a Changing Industry. Today we have the great pleasure to welcome author and my good friend, Clare Shaw. Great to have you here, Clare, back on for a second episode of this to discuss your books and now our book, which is very surreal.
Our book.
Yeah, and fantastic. And for me, a huge honour to be working with you on publishing this really special book. So firstly then, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good, all good. And you're not too worn out from working with me on the book?
Yeah. Just banging my head against the wall most days.
Causing you headaches?
No, it's been good fun. It's been a lot of fun.
No, it's been really good. So the book then, let's talk about this and like why we did it. And firstly, who is this aimed at and what's it about?
It's aimed at everybody because as a society, we're just not very good at talking about death.
Yeah.
And as you know, we both have quite a shared passion on trying to change that, particularly around children, which is where the book started with your how to help children, and then I added lots of bits on.
Yeah.
I got a bit overexcited, and so it's now just got everything in there for if somebody that you love dies.
Yeah.
And how you process that, how you can help yourself, help your family unit, help the children, what the process is, who do you phone when someone dies, and all the random questions that people have been too nervous to ask at the time.
Yeah, yeah, and the whole point why we spoke initially was to sort of have a vehicle and tool around the work we've been doing in Parliament. So it's like having it in one place, but as you said, you then expanded it to add new bits into this, which is really, really helpful. So just to clarify then, it's not aimed at children, this book.
No.
Well, it's aimed at everyone, isn't it?
Well, everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone who's connected to a child who could, and professionals as well. There's a section in there for professionals, because obviously with the petition and trying to get it on the national curriculum, then there are areas that will then help professionals when it comes to it.
Yeah.
Because it will happen.
Yeah, we're going to get there. We won't stop until it's done. And then you mentioned about your experience of loss. I know we talked about that briefly on our first episode of the podcast that we did, you and I. But are you comfortable to talk about, obviously, when you lost Andrew, when he died, what happened at that time? And also, what I'm really interested to know about, if you're comfortable in saying, is about the support that you received or didn't receive.
Yeah. It was really strange, really, because to me, he was just my brother. But he was mentally and physically disabled and didn't have a particularly long life expectancy. So I think Mum and Dad had always expected something at some point, but I hadn't.
Yeah.
And he'd been a little bit poorly with a cold, and it was just before Christmas. And I was in school, and I got called out of a science lesson because someone was coming to collect me because he'd been rushed into hospital. And he was on life support, which was then switched off just over 24 hours later, and he died on the 20th of December. And then we had his funeral on Christmas Eve, which was really bizarre, because everyone came back to our house and it was like a party.
Yeah.
The Christmas tree was on in the corner and all his presents were under the tree, and it was really strange. And then we went back to school and work, and my sister went back to college in the January, and life just kind of moved on.
Yeah.
And then my maternal grandfather was diagnosed with terminal cancer, so my mum was taking him back and forth to appointments, looking after him a lot. So I was quite on my own.
Yeah.
Dad used to work away quite a lot. My sister was 17 and went off doing her thing. So yeah, I spent a lot of time by myself and not knowing how to deal with what was going on. And then a year and a day after Andrew died, my granddad died. So yeah, it was Christmas time again,
Yeah.
and just not very pleasant, really. And again, I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know who to go to, who to talk to. I became quite, I'd cover up all my feelings.
Yeah.
But then as I got later into my teens, I started drinking, and then I'd drink too much and then cry.
Yeah.
But not cry for the right reasons.
It wanted to come out.
Oh, yeah, it was just hideous. And it was only then in my 30s I had a little bit of a breakdown.
Yeah.
And ended up with a therapist who unpicked everything and got me back to the fact I never actually grieved.
Yeah.
So I did in my late 30s, and I've been so much better.
Yeah.
So much better. And I just then, that was where all of this came from, really, because then I wanted to help other people, children, not go through what I went through.
Yeah.
And to know that you can talk about it and you can ask questions and you can cry and you can be happy and you can be sad and you can go through all of those different emotions. It's not strange.
Yeah.
It's all quite normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just didn't know.
How to process it. Also, you mentioned, so your granddad passed away. He died a year and 1 day later after Andrew. Can I ask, how did you find Christmases after that time?
Quite bizarre. It was really bizarre. You just live in that memory of the fact that they've gone, and it was that time of year, and it kind of took the special element out of it for quite a while. Because when Andrew died, there were no children around.
No.
He still believed in Father Christmas.
Yeah.
So although he was 18, he still had this belief. So Christmas was all still really special in our house because we still had all of that excitement.
Yeah.
So that was just gone. And it took a long while to get it back.
Yeah.
I mean, when I had my own children, I now do Christmas more than anyone in the house and go a little bit wild for it. So I don't know whether I'm overcompensating.
Yeah, no, the reason I asked the question, because I really struggled with Christmases when I was younger, after my mum died.
Yeah.
I found it difficult to find them joyful.
Yeah.
I remember going for a Christmas dinner with Dad a year later after Mum had died, and my sister had a hangover, so she didn't come. I think she drank a bottle of Baileys, underage, sorry. She's not sorry. So she stayed in bed all day, and I remember we went for a meal at the Parlours Hall in Bridge North, and we ate the starter, and I remember looking at each other with our little hats on, and like look around the room, everyone's having a great time. I remember thinking, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to improve as well, is like, it's okay to have these bad days,
Yeah.
but actually have the bad days together as well, and be kinder to ourselves, and not to feel like embarrassed to sort of want to go home and just do nothing.
Yeah. You have to do what's right for you, and if that's what feels right, go with it.
Yeah. But also the flip side of that, now I have 3 children.
Yeah.
Christmas is like all guns blazing,
Yeah.
amazing, and like possibly the same as you,
Yeah.
overcompensating now. So I don't know. Thank you for sharing that. So Andrew, so he died when you were 11.
Yeah.
He was at 18.
Yeah.
What support did you have around you? You mentioned you felt quite lonely in certain aspects. Was there any sort of support network though, professionally or just friendship groups?
Not really. I had some good friends, but I'd only just started secondary school in September.
Yeah.
So I was still almost trying to find my feet and find friends and settle into friendship groups. And I think after that, I just got it all wrong.
Yeah.
And I would gravitate towards the ones who weren't so nice.
Yeah.
So I hated school in the end because I never felt settled there.
Yeah.
And I was a very easy target, which is quite common for children who've lost someone close to them. So, yeah, I didn't have the best of times, really. And I think because I was vulnerable.
But so that's interesting as well, because you actually did find, you actually found that therapist.
Yeah.
You said in your 30s you dealt with that in the end.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've got the stats here. 41% of young offenders suffered a close loss.
Yeah.
41%.
It's a crazy number, isn't it?
And again, like, we're still questioning if we should have these conversations in society.
Yeah.
So it's not just about people who are dying, it's also about the aftermath, isn't it?
Yeah.
The leftover in society.
Yeah.
People need help.
Yes. Hugely.
And then just to clarify, every 20 minutes in the UK, a parent dies.
Yeah.
And that's not including aunties, uncles,
Yeah.
siblings, grandparents.
It's incredible.
And even pets.
Yeah.
So it's all around us, but we're still struggling. So,
Yeah.
so hopefully.
Hope so.
And what's happened so far? Books are going out, aren't they?
Yeah. We gave a lot away at our launch, didn't we, at NFE, with my celebrity co-author.
Oh, there we go. You've gone there. You've gone there.
We do need to let everybody know. Do we?
No.
Yeah.
Stop there.
There was a lovely gentleman on the stand next to us, wasn't there, John, who said that you were like the celebrity of the funeral industry and referred to you as Brad Pitt. Which, by the end of NFE, everybody knew.
I'm just amazed. I reckon you've only come here today, forget the books, just to come and give me abuse, basically.
Yeah. I've just thought on the Saturday when we were there, it was hilarious that the man from one of the car stands had come to say hello to you, and he said that 3 separate people had told him you were the Brad Pitt of the funeral industry.
Good to see you, Claire.
Yeah, see you later.
Is that interview now finished? Hey guys, thank you for watching the video so far. I hope you're really enjoying it. Please click the thumbs up on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, a huge thank you to our sponsors. Their details are found in the video description just below. Thank you so much.
Oh, what a giggle though.
It was good fun, wasn't it?
Such a giggle.
Good
and
fun.
such a great way to launch it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we gave away, over 500 copies, I think it was in the end. And they've steadily been selling since then. So,
and was it foreign countries as well?
Then we sent one of the ladies who is in there as a lived experience. So at the back where we've got the stories from people who've arranged funerals.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually realised when we were chatting that she lived in Canada.
Yeah.
So she got the complimentary copy for having contributed and then ordered 6 copies as well. So they're on their way to Canada.
I've had an association as well in Australia who want to.
Wow.
I think they've actually purchased them now as well, so
cool.
they're going through. So
fantastic.
it's amazing, worldwide, Claire.
I know.
Worldwide.
That's bonkers.
Yeah, it's crazy. But no, like you say, we've got some really powerful content in there.
Yeah.
Lived experiences, the
That
facts
was really,
as well.
Yeah. The lived experiences was my hardest week on the book.
Oh, really?
Because I'd gone out on social media and just said, anybody who, we're trying to put this book together, anybody who's had experience of arranging a funeral, could you give ideas on what you might do differently or what you wish you had known before you started? And I mean, everyone in there, I don't know. I've never met them. They very happily sent me their stories, and I sat at my desk crying all week trying to put those in. And because they were so powerful, I didn't edit them. I asked for permission to put them in as they'd been sent. And they are amazing. There was a gentleman at NFE that he took the book, didn't he, in the morning?
Yeah.
And he was reading those over lunch and then came back to us and said, "You've just had me in tears over my lunch." And I think those things, and because it's real people's stories about what they've been through, it really does touch. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, so there's, for those watching then, it's like the experiences, but then there's also how we can create better connection when someone dies as well. So like, we talk about the lady putting her son's socks on. So like how we involve people when someone dies so they have more of a connection with their person, which is really important. And I think we still struggle with that in society, but actually when we break these barriers down, and I see it with arranging and conducting funerals, these can have profound impacts on our grief as we move forward. And obviously you see it. The first day at NFE as well, I remember we'd only been there half an hour. And
were you with me?
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Was that when you'd gone to get a coffee and came back 3 hours later?
Literally.
Or was that?
I kept saying to you, you've got separation anxiety over me.
I do. But I think that's everybody. I think that with everything, separation anxiety, it's terrible.
Don't try and do that to me now. It was abuse. It was constant abuse.
Half an hour in.
Yeah, back to the story.
Sorry.
And that man that came up to you, was it said to you that they'd read your previous books, how much they've helped them?
Was it John? And he'd said, because he orders off me quite regularly. And it was quite interesting talking to him, actually, because he orders in batches of 50. And he'd had quite a few batches of Love Will Never Die, but not quite as many of A Mindful of Grief, which is for the teenagers. So I said, how come you're not kind of almost ordering in equal measure? Yeah. And he said, well, the teenagers are all right, aren't they? And I went, no. No, they're probably in more need because they're better at masking their feelings. And he went, oh, okay. So, yeah, but he said the books that he gives out, the feedback he's had is phenomenal, which is always lovely to hear because you're never quite sure, are you?
Yeah.
No, it's always nice
I'm aware as well, some people don't get it yet.
Yeah.
Some people don't quite understand it. I spoke at St Mary's University in Twickenham a few weeks ago, and I talk about the tribe that understands this, that world where we were all like, well, yeah, it's obvious. But I spoke to university leaders, secondary school leaders, primary school leaders, like heads of schools, and they were there to get better and learn, and from all over the UK.
Yeah. And
there's even people there there's a lady there from Ukraine as well.
Oh, wow.
But what was really interesting, like, the biggest thing I took away from it was they wanted to learn, but there's a real lack of understanding about this. But they were like blown away by it all, and they now want to go back to their schools and universities and implement new procedures, which is wonderful. So it's a really impactful day. But it's just about showing people there is another way to do this. And again, I think that's what we've got in there, from different experiences, from the facts to how young people will go through grief and how they'll process it. Yeah.
At different developmental stages as well, which we go through in the book, from under 5s, 5 to 8s, pre-teens, teenagers, because as they get to different developmental stages, they will react to it slightly differently. So I've tried to put all of that in there to give people that. There's no black and white textbook for it. Every child's going to do it their own way, but it gives a guide.
Guidance.
I know you don't like the word guide, but it gives a guide on how they might respond and how best to try and deal with it with them at that time. So it's quite handy. No,
it's, as I say, and for me personally, doing this with you as well, it's been, sometimes...
Traumatic.
Traumatic, yeah. But no, it's been, for me, like, I'm so sort of focused on the end goal of seeing this happen and like initiated in schools. It's been some time to sort of reflect on what's happened almost. Yeah. It's like therapy for me. So yeah, it's been a real honour. You mentioned your other books as well. Yes. So can we just go through those quickly as well, please?
So there's Love Will Never Die was my first bereavement book. And it's written from the child's perspective, and it is about somebody that they love who's died. Because there's lots of books about grandma and grandpa and mummy and daddy and specific people, but if you're buying a bereavement book for a child who's lost mummy and it's about granddad, it's not necessarily going to work. And there are some beautiful books out there.
Yeah, yeah.
But teachers I spoke to when I was researching and writing said some of them are they're far too metaphorical. And so you'll read it with a child and they'll go, well, why have you read that? My grandma died. And they don't get the connection.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be really straightforward.
Clear what's
and
going
exactly
on.
Talk about the fact that someone's died and encourage them to ask questions about what's going to happen at the funeral and what's going to happen moving forward. And it talks about the fact that you might be happy one day, you might feel sad one day, and that might change in the space of 5 minutes, and that's okay. There's a little packet of tissues so that they know that it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
There's a little envelope where they can put special things. So on a school visit, there was a little boy whose sister had died, and he was using the book. I'd gone with a different book, and he realised it was me and asked if he could go and get the book to bring through. And he brought it through, and there's a stringed envelope. And he undid the string really carefully, pulled out a picture he'd drawn of his sister to show me, put it back in, and then was doing the string up really carefully. And I'm going, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing to see it working and to be what it's meant to be.
Creating connection for him and his sister.
Yeah. And then there's all these different places where they can write and draw and everything else. So it just became a whole, not a workbook, but something that they can keep.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when Andrew died, I had an old notebook and I stuck photographs of him in there, and I wrote poems that I'd heard that I connected to, and so it was, and I've still got it, and so that's kind of what I wanted the book to be.
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
And then moving on from that, when I was going to different conferences and talking about Love Will Never Die, everybody would ask me, did I have anything for teenagers? I didn't. I was too frightened to write for teenagers. But then my eldest son and I wrote it during lockdown.
Yeah.
And it's really straightforward. There's a heading for each double page, and there's a dictionary definition, so bereavement, death, funeral, all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
And then it is no more than 2 pages per subject.
Yeah.
And again, there's places where they can write things. There's mindfulness colouring, which we've put in here as well. Anything that can help them understand and allow them to, get it so they know that there's help and that they can ask for help and that what they're feeling isn't wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
That was just encouraging them to.
No, it's, as I say, I think we've highlighted, and like we've got the stories that are coming through, and like what you and I have both been through as well.
Yeah.
Like we need to do more. There needs to be more out there.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing your books, and thank you for working with me to do this book. Hopefully it helps lots of people. Hopefully it helps people who haven't been through a loss. You don't have to have suffered loss to read this.
Oh gosh, no.
This is about being proactive rather than reactive, which actually your son mentioned before.
Oh really?
About something else. Yeah, I thought, well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Which child?
It was the eldest son.
Oh, Henry. That's
Henry.
okay.
It wasn't Ozzy.
Austin's bonkers.
No, it wasn't him. Yeah. Also, so that's it. Where do we get these books from?
They are on Amazon.
Yep.
But they're also on my website, which is cskidsbooks.com.
Yep.
But if you're wanting to buy them for trade accounts, then you can get in touch and I can do a trade account for you on the website, and also schools, if anybody wants to donate them to schools.
Yeah.
Quite keen on people trying to get them into schools, so yeah.
It's good. And also, so today we're in the Bridge North Library. They've asked as well about having them for sale here. So that's really, really cool. And so hopefully we can help more people. And yeah, just a huge thank you for what you've done, what you're doing. And I've also got something today for you. So you talk about the support you had or didn't have. This is a plaque from the Good Grief Trust, and this is being donated to you and the Gosport area where you're from to try and support people in that area to find different support networks that are available.
Fabulous.
So you can either scan the QR code and it takes you to the sites, or just go on that site there, and all the charities are under that umbrella of the Good Grief Trust. So hopefully
Brilliant.
that can help more people along with the books.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Claire.